Hello, hi, good afternoon, and welcome to P2P Live, our regular jobs and market update that goes live across Australia every Friday. Thank you for joining us. My name is Catherine Kennedy. I'm the Managing Director for People to People in New South Wales, and very happy to be your host again, probably for the last time for a little while. Mark Smith, who's been off on leave, is back next week, and I know very keen to get back into the hosting seat, but it's I've really enjoyed being able to bring this to you over the last couple of weeks. So in terms of the agenda today, pretty standard. So we've got some information or some data that's been released. Actually, it was a couple of weeks ago, but I don't think it's been shared as yet around job advertisements and the Internet Vacancy Index. So I have some information to share with you on that. As always, the team have got lots and lots of jobs that they need to get filled quickly, both here in Australia. So I've got a couple of roles in Australia to share with you, but then also our colleagues in other countries, so in New Zealand and in the UK, also very keen to spread the word about opportunities that they have, and perhaps you might be considering a move or know someone in one of those locations as well. So bring you those jobs. We're going to have a chat to Christopher Williams from our Sydney team. He leads our temp accounting team, so really an expert in that temporary area, and he's got some insights around what to do if you come across on a working holiday and you're wanting to get work in Sydney or in Australia, and work out how you might approach that. So we'll get some advice and some insights from Chris. And then, as always, we have our regular poll that we put out to our viewers every week. So I'll bring you the results from last week. And obviously we want to get your opinion on the next question that we'd like to put out there to the Twitterverse. So I should mention that I'm in Sydney, I'm on Gadigal land, and I wanted to acknowledge that it's a lovely, sunny, crisp winter's day here in Sydney. So looking forward to getting out into the sunshine before too long. But what we'll do firstly is we'll get into our stat of the week. So what's on the screen here, and it's relatively busy, but I'll talk you through it. This is has a couple of data points. So it's got the Internet Vacancy Index, which is basically jobs that are advertised, and that's measured by the government, and they look at various sources of where advertisements go month by month. And then so that is the sort of purple line that you can see at the top there. And then the green, light green kind of mountainous line there is that's the jobs advertised. The purple line is the unemployment rate. So this is going back to 2006. So fairly, long space of time that we're looking at there, and you can see, which is not surprising, that when there is low or lower jobs being advertised, the unemployment rate is higher. That's not a great surprise. So if we look at what's happening sort of in the here and now, and you can see where that dotted sort of red line is the 2020 COVID downturn, which was a very, very sharp V. So went down very quickly, but my lord, did it bounce. So very, very stark and sharp increase in terms of jobs being advertised, and that was met with that declining unemployment rate. What's happened in the last month, and the next slide that we'll go to in a second will show you a little bit more detail, but we have seen job advertisements decline a little bit. So the Internet Vacancy Index, there has been a constriction in the jobs that have been advertised, but the unemployment rate remains very low. So the experience of our team at the front line is, look, the market is perhaps a little bit less predictable than it had been, but it's still a strong jobs market, particularly in highly skilled areas, or particularly in locations where there's a skills shortage. So if we go to the next slide, it actually goes into a little bit more detail around what's been happening month by month and the annual change, and breaking it down through the different states. So the headline there with Australia is, you can see the monthly change has been nearly 3%, so 2.9% decrease in jobs advertised month on month. But if we look at the annual change, and we're comparing this to the same period last year, it's actually been more, a more significant decrease. So it's been 4.4% decrease in terms of jobs advertised. Now, that alone might be a little bit alarming, but if you can recall from the slide before, that huge spike out of that sort of pandemic period, really it was an incredibly strong jobs market and huge numbers of jobs being advertised as we came out of that period. So that needs to be taken into context. If we look at the the states. So you can see, just looking at the month by month change, the territories have actually had a slight increase. So Northern Territory and ACT, but in all of the other states, there has been a slight decline in month on month job advertisements, most significantly in South Australia, but in Tasmania and New South Wales, it's been relatively minimal, so 1.4% and 2.6%. So I thought that was interesting just to share with you. This information is freely available. You just simply need to search for Internet Vacancy Index and you will find it. But yeah, it indicates that there is a slight softening of that hugely buoyant jobs market that we saw the same time last year. It's becoming a little bit more normal, but it's still very strong indeed. So that wraps up our stat of the week. Right, so as I said, we every week have got jobs, lots of jobs that the team's looking to fill quickly. And this one I know because I've been in our Parramatta office and have been hearing the team getting very excited about this particular opportunity. So this is a temporary position that's being led by Karishma. So you can see her details on the screen there. It's for a people and culture case manager. So ideally, we are looking for experience previously in a HR business partnering role, or any sort of relatively senior HR experience would be considered. You really do need to have very strong interpersonal and communication skills, just the nature of the work that you're going to be working on for this particular assignment. You've really got to have that very strong stakeholder management and influencing skills. There are a number of one-to-one interviews and consultation that you'll be doing specifically around some changes that are happening with this client that we're working with. So it's looking at about, it will be a temporary rate. It's an hourly rate on a temporary assignment. It's $50 to $70 an hour, roughly, depending on your experience for that particular position, based in Auburn. And Karishma from our Parramatta team would be the person to talk to, and her details are on the screen there. The next role that we've got, I'm fairly sure is from Adelaide. Yep, my memory serves me correctly. So this is an executive assistant permanent position that Peter Seaman from our Adelaide team is leading. So you would need to bring experience in a similar type of position previously. You'd need to have those good computer literacy and Microsoft skills. It's a very fast-paced environment, this particular position, so you need to be comfortable working with that kind of pace as well. So Peter's details are on the screen there. If you're looking for work in Western Sydney or in South Australia, even if these particular positions are not the right fit for you, I'm sure the team would be happy to talk to you, and those two contacts would be relevant for you. But that's it for the roles in Australia. I think we, as I said, our colleagues in different locations always ask us to give a bit of a shout out, and we've got a couple of roles from P2P International that we'd like to share with you as well. The first one is from the UK, and I think that those details will come up on screen. Great. So this is also a temporary assignment based in London, in the southeast of London. It's an administrative sort of position that Hannah is leading. Her details are on the screen there, and you can see the responsibilities as well. Being a temporary position, perhaps you're an Aussie looking to move over to London, or you have friends or family who are based there, you could work in this position on a temporary visa. So definitely reach out to Hannah if you'd be interested to consider that or other opportunities in the UK. And I think we've also got a video from our Kiwi friends, which is a particular opportunity that we might show now.
We're currently working with a government organisation on the lookout for a senior human resources business partner to join the team for the next 4 months.
So what they're looking for, they are currently going through a huge transformation and a change process. So they are looking for someone that has come from a government organisation previously, just so you have an understanding of that complex matrix that the government has going on. And if you have been part of a change management process, just so you can understand the implications it has on the employees who are going through that at the time. So you're not going to be doing as much around that change management, but it's just more that you can support the managers, coach the managers on how to support their employees, and also providing that pastoral care to all employees. And there are some ER issues that are coming up, so some of them are quite complex, some of them not so much, but it's just putting together the investigations and writing the reports for them. And then the final part is the collective agreement. So they are unionised, they're dealing with the unions at the moment. So if you've had that experience working with unions on a collective agreements, then it'll be really helpful as well.
Perfect. So if you are interested in the role and you're able to start as soon as possible, please get in touch with Kirsty or myself on the information below.
Okay, so we might go and have a chat to Christopher Williams. You can see on the screen there now, who's going to talk to us about the working holiday. I guess, you know, when people come over on a working holiday, it's freezing in Sydney today, so maybe not that exciting for people to do that now, but summer will come, and we know we're very happy to welcome an influx of people on working holiday visas. So have you got some tips to share with everybody, Chris?
Yeah, definitely. So I actually have 3 tips today. So I know obviously when you're coming to a new country, it could be a bit daunting, I guess, if you're not familiarized with the market and, you know, what job prospects are like out there. So 3 simple tips that anyone of any industry or any type of role can kind of do in a little bit of preparation. So when they land in Sydney or anywhere else, or really, I guess, across Australia, they feel a little bit more prepared. So very basic, but very straightforward is research the job market. So make sure you've done a little bit of a review of, you know, the type of roles that you're looking to target, what industries are thriving, what's the in-demand skills, you know, what prospects are there for people on a visa within those types of roles. That kind of information might help gear you towards where you might want to be based on your travels to Australia. Perhaps if you want to get into the mining industry, you know, maybe somewhere like Western Australia would be much better than if you were to go to Tasmania. So make sure you do your research. The other one is tailor your application. So tailoring your application is really important because perhaps where you're coming from, the standards and expectations for certain roles is different when you go for applying for a position. So make sure you highlight your relevant skills, your experience, the qualifications, and I guess how they align with qualifications within the country you're traveling to. That's going to be really important to make sure that you get a better success rate with the types of roles that you're applying to. And the third one is utilize any job portals or any online resources that you can do. This is something that you can start doing before you actually do your travels. So whether that be going onto Seek, LinkedIn, Indeed, or even if you're going via an agency, going directly to their main website. So I know that People to People, we advertise majority of our roles all across our website. And that way you can kind of see some trends as well of what type of positions are coming up in certain states, and maybe at what time of year would be best to go to certain places. All very simple tips, but I think if you kind of do these 3, it might ease a little bit of the worries that you may have of traveling to a new country.
Yeah, indeed, because it's all the great unknown, you know, separate to your job search. It's, you know, trying to work all of that out. So if you've just got a few of these sort of building blocks in place, it might just make that transition a little bit easier. And Chris, I'm sure that your team would welcome anyone who's coming across on a working holiday visa. You guys are always screaming for good talent, for people who can do those short-term assignments. So you're happy for people to reach out to you as well?
Yeah, definitely. So the key for us, I think anyone in Australia at the moment, is just if you're immediately available, doesn't matter what you do, feel free to reach out to myself. I can help point you in the right direction to anyone else within the company. But my details should be on the screen, and always happy to have a conversation.
Awesome. Okay, thanks for joining us today, Chris. Cheers.
Thanks, Kath.
Okay, so as always, we'll bring the results from this poll that we put out there last week. And the question was fairly simple last week. It was that, as a job seeker in 2023, are you? And we asked, you know, gave some different categories. So it was a fairly even split, really. There was 12% that said they're looking, but they have some hesitation. And that's something that is not uncommon at the moment, just with various things that are happening out there in the world. So there was nearly 30%, 27% said not looking really. Almost the same amount, 29.3 are actively looking. And then the remainder at just over 31% said they're not looking, but they're open and they would be open to a conversation. So fairly even spread, doesn't necessarily tell us anything, you know, any particular trend, other than the thing that is prevalent a little bit more than it would have been, say, 12 or 18 months ago, is that slight hesitation to move. So for employers, it's really about being able to communicate your value proposition, make sure people feel that there's a long-term opportunity for them, there's stability, security, that kind of stuff. So we might jump to the next slide, which will pose the question for this week, and it's timely, I guess, given the conversation we just had with Chris, and given we are, soon to be in the warmer months here in Australia, is simply, have you considered looking for a job through a working holiday visa in 2023? So have you considered perhaps going abroad to do something like that? Or if you're watching us from outside of Australia, have you considered trying to come and do that in Oz? So we'll bring those results to you next week. Thank you again for joining us. All of our social channels are available to you. So if you've got wanted to go back and look at past broadcasts, you're very welcome to. If you've got any questions about what's happening in the market, happy for you to reach out to me directly or to any of the team across Australia. Our website is there for you to see. Thanks again for joining me, and we'll see you next week.